Welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. Gettysburg College says they're investigating after a now former student athlete who is white used a box cutter to carve the N-word into a black student's athlete's skin. Now, the victim's family wants to remain anonymous. They say it happened while members of the swim team were hanging out. The victim was reportedly the only person of color there, and the white student played the victim, claiming he was his best friend. In a statement, Gettysburg College says the student who committed the assault is no longer enrolled. The victim's family is calling this a hate crime. Joining us to talk about it, investigator Arthur Suki Slim Reed, who works with famed attorney Ben Crump. Glad to have you here. When you hear a story like this in 2024, and we still have to deal with it in 2024, your thoughts? Are you surprised?
Well, we see it every day. I mean, we go out every day to fight for people that fall into these situations or find themselves into these situations. We're actually dealing with another case. All white individuals with one person of color went swimming, and this was inside of the Marine Corps in Texas. So we deal with these type of cases every day. No, I'm not surprised. What I am surprised about is that the school is saying that an investigation is being handled within the school, but we don't hear anything about law enforcement. Why haven't the FBI been involved in this case? Why haven't local authorities been involved? This is a hate crime if it happens the way that we're seeing it across social media. This is definitely a hate crime. So I'm not surprised about it, especially in this climate that we're seeing right now, but I'm surprised that I don't hear anything about law enforcement being involved.
And when you think of the egregious nature of this crime, where one of the fellow students carved into this black guy's chest the N-word with a box cutter.
I have been looking at the case, Isaiah, to try to see what was he doing while this was taking place. Was he being held down?
Right.
You know, all of those questions have come to mind, and they just don't have enough information out there right now for us to even come to a conclusion how this really happened. So
in a case like this, though, is it important that the family comes forward and tell their side of the story so people can have these questions answered?
When I didn't see the family come forward, and then I started looking into it, I was like, wait, is this clickbait? What is this? Because normally we would want ourselves out there to show that this is still the same ugly America that we have been dealing with, but by them being anonymous, I can't figure it out right now.
And so what would you do in a case like this if you and Ben Crump had this case?
Definitely we would try to find out what he was doing, why this was taking place, why this took place, and who could be held accountable at the end of the day, including the college if it took place on campus. So we'll be pulling up all that information to try to put together a solid case that we could take forward to help this family get something out of this.
Now, the big question that we have here is, did the student leave on his own, or did the college make him leave? And that's important.
That's super important. And of course, if the wording is right according to what you had on the screen, they say an assault. Why haven't the authorities been called in on this assault? Because it's definitely assault. It's a hate crime if it's the N-word. So why haven't the authorities been involved, and why haven't this young man been arrested is what we will be looking into as well.
And when his parents, if his parents, they were looking for legal advice, what would you tell them to do at this point?
Now, I would tell them to pursue this to the full extent of the law, to try to make sure that the books was on for the hate crime in Washington, D.C., make sure that they give it to you. Make sure that they do everything that they say they're going to do, and that's the biggest problem, is that we don't see them doing enough when we see these type of cases. If you look at what's going on right now, Isaiah, with the Tyree Nichols case, where 5 black officers are on trial, and then you got 5 white officers in Louisiana that's walking, that's that two-sided America that we're trying to deal with every single day.
All right.